of the most intelligent people in the country here seated, and we're going to have a very wonderful conversation about Africa and our country, Ghana. The African story for today is in respect of what is happening in Nigeria, where the president of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu, has declared state of emergency because of the crisis that is happening in Rivers State. We'll touch on that story here on the show. Further, government has revoked small-scale mining licenses, particularly those given after or issued after December 7th. Number 3, Adjo Safo exposes rot at school feeding secretariat, asks government to investigate massive corruption. Number 4, Jakpa, almighty Jakpa, raids Governor Addison's residence. These are the matters that we have tabled for today's conversation. And like I indicated to you before the break, I have been joined in the studios by the Honorable, the one and only, Honorable Inusa Fuseni. Bonjour.
Ça va?
Bien, merci. Et vous?
Je vais dire.
Hey. Mr. Philip London. Long Don. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I trust you are well.
By his grace.
The one and only. Dr. Valentin Mensah. Good morning.
Good morning.
I trust you are well.
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
Today I'm blessed to have 3 great minds in the studio. I'm blessed. Thank you. Now, let us go to Nigeria. And as a matter of course, I would respectfully like to start with Honorable Inusa Fuseni. But before I do that, I think it's imperative that I read a little bit of the story. It seems, okay, so President Bola Tinubu has indeed declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, Nigeria, citing the need to restore peace and order in the state. The decision was made due to the ongoing political crisis in the state, which has been ongoing since October 2023. The crisis stems from a power struggle between Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his predecessor, Nyesom Wike. Now the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. The situation escalated after the demolition of the State House of Assembly complex in December 2023. As part of the emergency measures, President Tinubu has suspended Governor Fubara, his deputy, and all elected members of the State House of Assembly for an initial period of 6 months. Retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas has been appointed as the state administrator to oversee its affairs during the emergency period. This is what is happening in Nigeria, Honorable. Let me start with you. Sir.
Thank you so very much for having us this morning. And let me say good morning to Dr. Valentine. It's very important to acknowledge important people like him contributing their quota to the development of this country. I miss their very busy schedules. And to our good friend, we go back to the TV Africa days. when political communication and newspaper review was at its inception stages. It's always good to sit on TV with sharp minds and brilliant people like them.
Are you disappointed now the caliber of communicators we are getting as a nation? Because if I look at you guys, you know, I'm looking at the depth, you know, the patriotism that will be demonstrated.
Well, I'm not disappointed. I'm just saying that for most of our guys take political communication to another level. They fail to sometimes read and research their facts, and sometimes they are communicating and you feel that they have not read, and so they are misinforming the public. What we are doing is to try to inform, to go behind the stories and tell us as it is, and see whether we can learn lessons from those stories to apply to our own situation. But most of our guys, some of them don't actually read. Now, but back to the story. The Nigerian issue is a very old issue. It's an issue where short of declaring Nigeria a failed state. It's an issue where there appear to be fiefdoms in Nigeria where people can capture the state and take resources from the state for their own benefit. This is not helped by the presence of a weak central government that lacks control over the whole country and rent-seeking politicians at the federal level. And so you will see that if the fish is rotten, it will start from the head. So if the governors of states in Nigeria feel that the governors, the leaders at the central level, at the federal level, are not doing what will unite the state, what will ensure that the property of the state or the resources of the state are used for the benefit of the people of the state, then those at the lower level also enter the frame. And that is what is happening in Nigeria. Behind the story of a power struggle between the former governor and the present governor and the demolition of the State House and all those things is the matter of resource. River State is a major exporter of crude oil from Nigeria. Major. I mean, and so, and River State, and you don't remember the Oguni case? Sarawiwa. You remember Sarawiwa's case? So River State itself has been in the news for a very long time, where because of the nature of the pollution that has gone on over there and the deprivation of the people of their means of livelihood, the despoliation of the environment, the prevention of the people from engaging in farming activities because of the contamination of their soils, the killing of fishes in river bodies because the oils have been dropped into water bodies, making it impossible for fishes to spawn. And then the lack of manifestation of the wealth of the River State reflecting in the state itself. Many people in River State have taken the law into their own hands. So bunkering is a regular feature in River State. What precipitated this crisis in River State was the blasting a few months ago of the pipeline, the crude oil pipeline that transports oil from River State to the Bonny terminal for the purposes of exports. Now, it's also important to state that even though there was a blast, there have been constant siphoning. I mean, if you read the literature, many people have at various times gained access to that major pipeline and drilled or bored holes into the pipeline to be able to siphon the crude oil for the purposes of selling and enriching themselves. Whether the blast was in an attempt or was in pursuance of the criminal activities of people in the River State to siphon off the oil was in protest against the federal government of the way it treats the River State is yet to be determined. But of course, the blast has disrupted the flow of oil from the River State to the Borno State. And that has major consequences. Nigeria being a major exporter of crude, that has serious consequences for the federal government. Two, Nigeria is a federal state, as you know, and so it was expected that the governor, his deputy, and the elected representatives of the people in the River State would have brought this matter under control. They have failed, neglected, or refused to do so. We don't know whether the magnitude of the problem have simply overwhelmed them, or they are complicit in the matter. We don't know. Or it's a manifestation of the power struggle between the old and the new. So Tinubu is saying that, well, the crisis has come to a head. I cannot, as a responsible leader and head of state of a country, sit down and watch the River State burn. Watch the kind of, if you want, flux in the leadership, the failure of leadership in Borno State. And since the governor, his deputy, and the elected members have not been able to rein the situation in, I'm invoking my constitutional powers as head of state to impose a state of emergency on the River State. And by extension, I'm sacking the governor. I'm suspending the governor, his deputy, and all elected members for a period of 6 months. Within that period, it will give the federal government an opportunity to assess the situation, restore order, law and order, see whether the pipelines can be repaired, try to deal with the conflict situation between the old and the new, and also take the grievances of the River State, inhabitants of the River State, into consideration in fashioning out and modeling a system of administration that will meet the legitimate expectations and aspirations of the people of River State. So it's an interim measure, and that interim measure is intended to restore peace, to ensure that, that within that peace, the interests of the federal state will be served, that the pipeline will be repaired, and oil will continue to flow, so that probably the federal budget is not constrained by the lack of crude flowing from River State for export purposes. But it's clearly a lesson all of us must learn as Africans. Resources of a state, and it is for good reason that in Ghana Constitution, in the Nigerian Constitution, and all constitutions of many democratic nations, resources of the state are held by the president in trust for the people of the country. Because the resources of the state must be used for the purposes of developing the state. I like to always go back to Dubai and give a picture of how a determined country can use their own resources to transform their state. When Dubai discovered oil as a desert country, where their major occupation was heading ship, that was their major occupation, and trading between West African, the African countries and East Africa and Dubai was mainly in livestock. Now, when they discovered oil, the leader of Dubai immediately appreciated the fact that the oil discovered was a final resource, that its exploitation will end at a point, that it was important to use the oil to transition Dubai from an agrarian society to an industrial society on the platform of tourism, creating a haven, making it a haven for people who wanted rest, comfort, and experience to come to. And today, the tallest building in the world is sitting in the desert. The World Cup recently was played. Can you imagine that the World Cup was played in a desert country? That they had resources, they had transformed their country with the resources that they had, and conditioned the whole stadium for the purposes of hosting the World Cup. That is what is expected of African countries. But what has happened? Our resources appear to benefit only a few. In fact, the nature of politics in our area, sub-region, Africa, appears to be predatory.
Yeah.
The people enter into politics for their own self-enrichment, for their own personal aggrandizement. You can say, oh, we need a bigger chamber. We also need a dedicated hospital because we are a political class. You understand? No, I'm giving this example for you to understand that the predatory nature of politics is not almost ingrained in our politicians, and they now have a filthy and nauseating sense of entitlement. Okay, so that is what we are confronted with. And so they don't mind if we are a bankrupt country, if we borrow to run the country on T-bills. Doctor is here. T-bills, short-term instruments. Who has ever developed his country with short-term instruments? That is not their concern. That's not their concern. They don't care that we have close to 280 billion city debt to retire in the next few years. Our whole budget for a year cannot even retire that debt. They don't care. Like the book that was written, the king is dancing naked. While they are dancing naked, they don't know that we are seeing their nakedness. They are pursuing an agenda that is not in the interest of the collective in the state. It is in their own selfish parochial interests. And it is that has led to the situation in the River State. That when the citizens of a nation begin to believe that the resources of a state are not used for their collective benefit, but are used for the benefit of only a few in society, the law and order breaks down. Law and order will break down because they will take a Kasamov region. That is what is fueling the war. A resource-rich area, government extracts the resources, and the people in the Kasamov area don't see any development. So they take out arms. They say, no, we won't agree. So a warning to the living. I mean, remembering the dead is a warning to the living. That as a country, we need to put our act together to ensure that our citizens believe that we are servant leaders. We are not a political class. There is no class system in this country. In fact, all of us ought to have been sitting down and deliberating on matters affecting us as people. The Greek concept of democracy, not so. All of us. That's politics. That's all. That's the politics. That's the politics. Yes. All of us sitting down and discussing policies. But because of the nightmare of logistics, we decided to elect one of us to go and represent us. And that one, who is our representative, now thinks that having elected them, they now constitute a political class. That's absurd. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for this wonderful political lecture. and during the symbiotic happenings in the other countries, it's quite refreshing. Let me come to you, Dr. Val, on this subject matter before I conclude with Mr. Philip Langdon on this matter.
Thank you, Kwame. It's nice to be back here and then share ideas with the legends.
Yeah,
honorable. Yeah. So and good morning to your cherished viewers as well. Yeah, I think the honorable has said it all. I mean, we as Africans, we've lost it because the honorable talked about resources. So we have resources. We need politics is a means to ensure that the resources are allocated to the people. But we've been consumed by politics, and so we are not able to allocate the resources. And that is mostly the Anglophone countries. When you go to the Francophone, even though the Sahelians are suffering from coup d'etats and others, but you see that mostly they are well managed compared to us. And sometimes I think it's the way the power struggle at independence. The competition was so intense. And if you take the Ghanaian situation, for example, since early 50s, we've been competing politically to now. Some countries like Cote d'Ivoire didn't go through that. So in that process, we dissipate a lot of resources. Everybody thinking about either CPP or UP or whatever. The country that didn't have to do that will concentrate on the allocation of resources. Here, instead of concentrating on policies that will allocate on resources, people are entrenched in their partisan politics. What will make my party win?
That's it.
That is what we are doing. So at the end of the day, if you are a leader and you are not able to feed your people, then the people will lose hope in you. And this is what is happening in Nigeria. Nigeria has all the resources that will require it to be the first country in Africa and even compete with the other developed countries. But they've lost it in the resource allocation. And they are not able to tap into that to develop their country. And somebody was saying that somewhere in the 70s when we migrated to Nigeria, they were on top of the world because of the oil revenue. And with that, as Honorable said, Dubai used that to develop its country, and now look at Dubai. How did Nigeria fail during the 70s? And then even the Ghana, after the Ghana must go and everything, we, with the Chairman Rawlings, we managed to more or less recover and even compete with Nigeria on the same level. But then we as a people, we need to sit back and then come to the realization that we cannot continue like this. The politics is a human creation to solve a problem. It shouldn't lead you, or it shouldn't consume you as a people, so that everything you do is about politics. But it's just a tool to ensure that decisions are well made, policies are in the interests of the people. But if you are spending all your resources and energy in which party is best or better, and as a process you take decisions that are not interests of the country, then you have yourself to blame. We cannot go and blame the imperialism and other things, because we've had about 60 years or more of independence between Ghana and Nigeria. So we need to be serious and then look at the priorities. The priority is to ensure that our country is endowed with adequate resources, and we are able to ensure that everybody in the country benefit from the resources. Not that one person wants to be powerful and wealthy. And this morning we're having, just before we entered here, I accosted the Honorable, and I was telling him that he's a contented fellow, and that the secret in life is contentment. Once you reach the stage where you are content with yourself, you've reached the highest maturity. You don't need to scramble. You don't need to go into politics and amass all the wealth and lose your health. And then after 5 years, after power, you are gone. You just have to be content, know your purpose in life. What am I? Am I here to help my people? What can I do to help my people? But if you are amassing wealth for your children, you just pass away after 5 years and everything will be squandered. I've seen a lot of wealthy people who have their wealth dissipated after 2 years, because the children that are to inherit what you've amassed are not prepared for that. And because you also amass the wealth illegally, you are not able to put in the structures to sustain that. So we, at the end of the day...
That's a nice submission.
Yes.
But one of the things that you said which really pricked my curiosity, and by the way,
yes,
by saying this, I'm coming to Mr. Philip London, is when you talked about the 80s, I believe, and then the discovery of oil in Nigeria.
Yes.
And what now has metamorphosed into the fast derailment of the trajectory of growth in Nigeria. That brought a quote in my mind, you know, about the curses of riches. Or resources.
With a Dutch disease.
Dutch disease. Yeah. Let me come to you. I mean, this particular situation, and I, you know, the preamble, the introduction, the background given by Honorable is quite brilliant, so that at least it gives us, you know, the basis upon which we can build our analysis. So moving from there, you know, I mean, Ghana and Nigeria, in many ways, we share a lot of similarities, right? And we share a lot of dissimilarities. Now, given the situation that is now happening in Nigeria, juxtaposing same with what is happening in Biafra, all of these pockets of issues that are happening, you know, and when you go to Cameroon, you are looking at the Ambazonians also fighting for freedom. When you go to Congo now, you're looking at the M23. You know, so it appears that it is something that is silently slithering into our political, you know, our body polity across the continent, and something that we really ought to, because it starts like this, you know, these kinds of things, small, and then it degenerates, you know.
Well, thank you very much. And, good morning to your viewers and brothers here, and your good self. You've captured it all in one, you know. The crisis in River State, like my good brother pointed out to us, has been, you know, bubbling, has been heating up gradually. And it looks like there are so many different fundamental issues underneath the problem. First of all, the president is from one party. The governor and his deputy are from the opposing party, and there are issues. And you know, there's a whole lot of undertones which are under the table and don't come up on the table. You see, some of which are a reflection of, you know, like he said, some inherent political issues in their own political situation. But yes, like you're saying, all these things do have a bearing on us. And I like the quote that, what? Remembering the dead. It's an advice to the living.
Yes.
Very, very apt quote. You know, River State, yes, pumps out the major national resource of the Federation of Nigeria. Over the years, there have been problems, some of the Biafra days, where people feel discontent that it is from our lands that this major resource is coming, but we are not getting anything. Then highlighted in this, apart from the poverty, general poverty, was the major environmental damage. Now, as time went on, as governments and successive governments in Nigeria have tried to address that, while governments have tried to raise the level of development and let the people see an appreciation of their receipt of the state's resources, indigenous politicians and all kinds of people in that area have also been engaged in very serious criminality in terms of the bunkering.
So to reflect it on our own local situation, it's like our Galamsey situation.
Yes.
Charlie.
It's like our Galamsey situation here.
The West.
Yes. It is you see, it is the first steps. You see, Nigeria, where they've got to is they've gone further down that road that we should be taking serious lessons from. You know, to the extent that the criminality, if you go deep, is being organized by some of the people behind the political leadership. But some of those things cannot be said. So the bunkering and then the tapping of the pipelines and things have been going on. And now one of the charges against the governor and his deputies that some of these things that are going on, they don't see any serious action being taken against it. That is one of the problems. So then some people feel that, okay, we are well. I mean, I'm not saying this is what is happening, no, but it's like a situation where I have to be careful what I say.
Yes.
And be careful where maybe my brother and I, we are doing something wrong. Then our accusation is that you are doing it worse than I am doing. Meanwhile, we are talking about the other things on it. No, the situation is getting out of hand. So, and with this blast that occurred, it was a major wake-up call in the hope that powers that be would rise to address it, but still it's like business as usual.
Yeah.
So the president has to step in. My hope is that the person the president has chosen to handle the situation in the meantime, it appears he's a very senior naval officer.
Okay.
I believe they have a major naval base there, so I believe that he may have a lot of local knowledge, deep naval knowledge of the area, and be in a position to address the problems carefully. Now, having declared the place as under a state of emergency, I don't know what powers he may be given outside constitutional authority. Whether he will now have the authority to engage in certain actions and take certain decisions which ordinarily may not have been the case. But all told, I would wish to see that this matter is seriously addressed and nipped in the bud. And to come back to the other side of your question, which referred to Nigeria, as Doc said, in those days in the 70s, yes, Nigeria and Ghana had been serious competitors.
Yes.
You know, Ghana and Nigeria, they are a bigger country, but Ghana seemed to be ahead of Nigeria. When they had the oil resources now, they went out of their way to develop at a higher level, something that Ghana had started. When Kwame Nkrumah was doing his development, everything he did was world class. He didn't do anything that this is our African standard or African. Everything he did was world class to compete with the best in the world. Unfortunately, after Nkrumah was removed, Ghana began to slide back. So when Nigeria now started getting the resources, they tried to do what Ghana was doing. I'm not saying they're copying Ghana or they were copying Ghana or whatever, but that was what was happening. Murtala Mohammed Airport was adjudged at one point in time the best hotel in the best airport in the whole world. Best managed, best designed.
Yeah.
So African countries, we have...
So then what's the problem? Doesn't it fit into the narrative espoused by Doc?
Yes, but
that it appears we focus more on political transition as opposed to resource allocation.
But you see, yes, but for me, I always want to look at leadership.
Yep.
Leadership. It is the leadership that makes the difference. The example of Dubai is leadership.
But consistent leadership, not truncated leadership.
Well, you see, I agree. But leadership at any stage is leadership. That makes the difference.
You know, we are talking about Rwanda. I'm sorry. We are talking about Rwanda developing at a faster rate.
Yeah.
Because they have had a leader who has been, of course, a leader who is patriotic and understands where the country is and where it wants to take it, not just any leader at all.
That one, I think it's a fact.
And so if we have...
The leader needs time to consolidate.
Consolidate. But we have 4 years, people are thinking about the next election.
Consolidate all the great nations of the world. They had leaders who had the time to consolidate and nurture a successor who could continue. That one there just all over the world. That is it. So yes, part of our politics has been our problem. But we must identify honestly what our challenges are and put the partisanship aside and find solutions. We must identify our problems, where we've gone wrong, and find solutions and back a leader who has the courage to change things. All the countries that have progressed, this leader, Shagari, what Shagari did in his about 2 years or so of leadership, it's more than what many of the soldiers came and did.
I agree.
So at the end of the day, it's leadership.
This young man, Traore or whatever they call it. Transforming money.
I know something. Dubai.
Burkina Faso.
Dubai. Where did they take their inspiration from? In those days, there was Sun City.
In South Africa.
It was also from a desert. And people sometimes say, hey, so some people can do this thing. They took that consciousness. They had the resources.
Africa.
And that is what is driving Trump to want to take Gaza as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much. It's been a very revealing conversation here on the show. Those of you who are watching us from Nigeria, you can share your views with us. We want to know from the horse's own mouth what is happening in Nigeria currently. We are only beneficiaries of the stories that we have seen, and we are commenting on same. But you are there. Share with us what exactly is happening in Rivers State in Nigeria, and whether or not the decision by Tinubu to handle it the way he's handling it is something that finds expression in what the people need. Ultimately comes back to the people. So let us know. Send us your views on Facebook, facebook.com/Pan-African Television. Similarly, you can share your views with us via WhatsApp. WhatsApp number is on your screens, or will be on your screens shortly. Let me wish my brother and friend, Bright Martins Kwesi Atiga, the president of Africa Aid Institute, a very happy birthday. I didn't know you are a March born. Sunday is also my birthday. I'm growing. You are laughing at me. I'm growing. All right. I have a few messages on Facebook. Let me read them and then we will proceed to look at the other issues. Eric Koku Sepenu says, Kwame, good morning to you and your panelists. I do agree with Honorable Alhaji on his submission on Nigeria, Rivers State political mayhem. In a nutshell, it almost boils down to plutocratic kleptocrats misruling the people of Rivers State. Anas Fufu says, oh no, you are talking about MC. We are not talking about MC. Otuo Sribo wants to find out what did we recover from and with Chairman Rollins. I think he doesn't know the history of Ghana, so we may have to educate him a little bit. And then also Ejike Uwemwaka, I believe you're from Nigeria. Yeah. Sorry, I butchered your name. You simply said good morning and joined the discussions. All right. So if we can take a minute to explain to my dear brother Otuo Sribo what Chairman Rollins did, in the early, I believe, 80s when we were being sacked from Nigeria. So maybe Honorable touch on it, briefly.
Authority. Okay.
We are referred to Rollins. So yes. And I will add more.
Okay, yes. So I think Honorable will add a feeling. So those who do not know, in 1981-82, when they said Ghana must go, Ghana was on its knees. We were thinking about how to feed the retainees, and that was everybody's nightmare. But then we managed with the policy. Maybe some may argue that it wasn't a policy, but then they were integrated or reintegrated into the rural areas. They went farming, And we managed to survive that disaster. And then over time, Chairman Rawlings also adopted the IMF program with this economic restructuring.
Yep.
Even though most people who cherish statism may say that because of the diversity and others, people still challenge that. But we came out of the doldrums. And before 1992, our economy had recovered to a state which could have been envied by Nigeria, who benefited from that. So from 92 to now, even as we are speaking, our per capita GDP is better than Nigeria. So the argument is, what happened from 70 to now that propelled Ghana ahead of Nigeria after all this windfall from oil, that oil boom in the 70s. So policies were implemented, even though it could have been implemented by the wrong person. But sometimes you have to be objective, and I've always been objective. It doesn't matter who implemented the policies. But what he did to take us out of that situation, because I was at 1977, I was a teenager in secondary school. I was in Prempeh, and then 82 I went to St. Peter's. What we went through, even though they were the best schools in Ghana, but what we went through there wasn't the best. I mean, you come from, you go to the dining hall and then you have your gari soaked with soup. St. Peter's, because there was nothing else, and we had a Roman father who would send us to the bush to plant plantain that would help feed us. Those who didn't go through that situation do not know what happened in Ghana from in the 70s to the 80s. So we've come out of a serious situation, and now what we have, we need to cherish it and then pursue sound policies to ensure that we develop at even a faster rate. Because we've learned the hard way as a nation, and we shouldn't waste this through partisan politics. We should just look for what works for us.
Okay, thank you very much. We've spent a lot of time on the first topic, but I guess it's important as well.
So you must understand that what happened in 1982 by the expulsion of Ghanaians from Nigeria was a retaliatory action. Because in 1969, we had promulgated the Aliens Compliance Order.
Yes. Who did that? Who promulgated that?
Buzia.
Buzia, okay.
Okay, right. So it was a retaliatory action. What made the situation serious in 1982 was that we had experienced famine. So for the first time in Ghana, we were experiencing serious famine. And so when they expelled this great number, and the records put it around 2 or so million people. So how do you contain this number of people when you are already in dire straits? And that's the recommendation the doctor has given to Jerry John Rawlings. That look, with all that, they accepted them and deployed them, got everybody to his village and encouraged them to go into agriculture and other activities. I resettled those people. But I just needed to say that, look, you need to understand that policies, taking decisions has consequences.
Yeah,
that
absolutely. Absolutely.
But what he's talking about, that brought us out. And let me hasten to say that GDP is a function of population. That's why we are better than Nigeria. Nigeria has the biggest population in
200 million.
Yeah, so they could have a lot of resources. But when you divide all the services and goods that they produce a year over the population, they come down lower. But we don't have that. We don't have more resources, and our population too is small. Now, what actually we need to praise Rawlings for is that before the 1979 and the 1982 uprisings, Ghana had slipped so badly into predictable politics. So badly that we even had situations where we could say, for Utubaji, we had Kalabule.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a famous general who was called Boham, who under whose authority a ship was missing in the seas.
A cocoa shipment.
A cocoa shipment was missing. So they were militated. So and the anger in society was just too much. That was why university students, and that was Dr. Valanco, when the Rawlings came on board, they rushed to support him because everything was, our roads were terrible. I mean, it could take you 1 week from Tamale to Accra. That was so terrible. And if you were traveling to Bolga, you had to get paracetamol, painkillers in your bag, so that when you get to Bolga, you can take the painkillers. The roads were too terrible. Everything had collapsed.
I wish you had a documentary detailing all these things. People need to know where we've come from.
Yes.
And that is why the young people are misbehaving lately. Sometimes you sit back and you wonder, you know, how they think. Because they don't have the benefit of the story.
Yes.
Or the historical antecedents of this country, the exigencies of the past, which guided our path, you know, to this point. People ought to know.
In Tamale, we watch TV after Accra had watched the TV.
Videos.
After that, they will send the reels. There were reels.
Yeah.
They send the reels to Tamale and they'll play, and then we watch.
But we were all in Ghana.
We were all in Ghana.
But interestingly, there is still this huge disparity in terms of even development between the North and the South. Why can't we be intentional about bridging the gap? And sometimes I wonder, when my plane is when I'm going to Tamale, and I go to Tamale a lot, and the plane is descending, you see large tracts of land, plenty, and you wonder, can't we do something with this? You know, because Dubai is Dubai because of tourism. Can't we be intentional about developing specific regions for the purposes of tourism? Can't we do that?
We can. You know, in fact, this morning I must confess that I've missed my good brother and friend, Comrade Kwesi Price. I've missed Kwesi this morning. You see, we're talking about when the Ghanaians came out of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And yes, it was never admitted, it was never accepted, but it is true that it was partly also because of, it was a retaliation for two things. One, Ghana had expelled Nigerians in a very painful manner in '69. And the Nigerians never forgave Ghana. And that was why, when they started making money, they wanted to show Ghana particularly, we have the money, that we too, we are there. Then, also, after '79, when Liman became president, Shagari became president. The two countries had gone out of military rule into civilian rule. And the civilian governments were determined to prove that they could do better. And in all honesty, Liman did well. He did well. Yes. If you take the 2 years he had, he did well. And, well, it's a historical fact, he was overthrown. And we went through the challenges that we went through. Yes, we went through hunger in those early years. Part of it was self-inflicted. Part of it was also by natural causes. The rains didn't come. And Shagari, there were suspicions that the Ghanaian revolution was being exported. The revolutionaries in Ghana had their eyes on Nigeria. So Shagari sent the Ghanaians back. And the Ghana government at the time decided that there may be dissidents among them, so the borders had been closed in those days. So eventually when the borders were opened, Lome, the population of Lome, quadrupled, virtually in a matter of days. Because the Ghanaians, the numbers were such that they couldn't come in buses. Articulated loads of human beings. All the streets from the Benin border to the Aflao border.
People who were
Choked with people, articulated and human beings. And the border at Aflao had been closed because Ghana had closed all its borders.
Really?
Yes. And what happened was that the border guard commander pleaded with the government that please open the border. The government said, no, there'll be dissidents among them. We will not open the border.
What?
And it got to a point when the pressure was such that the people forced their way through. So by the time the government announced that the border had been opened for Ghanaians to come in, people had already left Aflao. They were they were coming in, articulated loads. It was terrible.
Okay, with the benefit of this, why are we still
You see
where we are?
And
Why?
you see, and I just wanted to make the other point. You see, and that's why I'm saying I miss Kwesi, because one thing I like about Kwesi is that, you see, he is very objective about these things. Yes, there are things about Rawlings that were good, there were other things that were not the best. And sometimes you have to admit it. That's what I tend to want to do. When that government came, one of the things they did, they went and, like today we are burning excavators. They went and burnt combined harvesters. In those days, there were farms in the north that were feeding the whole of Ghana. Rice farms were feeding the whole of Ghana. Yes, many of them were of the then political class. The farmers, the big, and I'm saying, when I say farmers, I'm talking about big farmers. Many were associated with the political class, and they lost them. So agriculture just went down like
To zero.
So that was how the hunger started. And then the droughts came in, and it was terrible in Ghana. Thankfully, we learned from the lessons, and then we started to make the recoveries. We made very strident recoveries. Very, very strident recoveries. Kwesi Botwe was finance minister. That one there, you have to give it to him. We made those strident recoveries. But then when we went into the constitutional rule,
that's when
then the politicking started. There were people who never forgave Rawlings because some of the things his government was now doing were the same things Liman had done to bring the same recoveries for which you condemned and overthrew him. So now it's like,
Wow.
when you do this, I don't accept. When you do. See, but as a country, we have to go past all that. Learn from our mistakes. These are historical facts. Whether you like it or not, it has happened. We are now the living. How do we live?
Learn from the dead. Let's move on. But before we move on, let me just read two messages. Francis Gordon says there is a great awakening of the African people, and politics should deal with the bread and butter issues affecting the people directly. If not, peace and harmony would not be realized among the people. The result is absolute chaos. The resources from the land should be used in the best interest of the people and not a few selected political leaders. Abena Pokua Aka says, good morning to you, Pan-African Television. Dr. Osajo Kwame Nkrumah realized that the partisan politics will not help the development of this country and came up with a concept where Ghana is seen as one party. Indeed, he wrote to the American president not to interfere with our developmental agenda, but allow us to shape a system that aligns with our identity and aspirations. But we did not even experiment this system of governance, and he was overthrown. Let us think outside the box and identify a political system that will work for us. The problem we have is that the people of this country have a misconstruction of democracy, which is grounded in the wisdom of the people. This is pathetically unfortunate. Francis Adalete says, good morning to you, Pan-African Television. People are, see why I love my viewers, very intelligent, you know. Eben from Progressive Forces says, like I think Accountant Val looks like Prime Minister Buzia.
If I think when I was young, without my glasses. I was in Kuma. And then when I went for classes in Form 2, then I became Muzia.
All right. Let's now, move on and look at the other issues. But let me extend a voice of congratulations to a very, very good friend of mine. A very, 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 very good friend of mine. He's a police officer. DCOP Chidi. Dr. Chidi in Western Region. He's been made the Western Regional Police Commander. I congratulate you. I know how you have suffered. And I know that you were denied your DCOP and COP 8 years ago. Some 8 years ago. He was due for COP 8 years ago. But he was denied, But by the grace of God now, you were promoted when the administration changed to DCOP. And hopefully you'll retire as a COP because you don't have a lot of years left. But I know how passionate you are about this country. I'm sorry. No, a lot of years in the force. Yes. Oh, yes. That's what I mean. But I know how passionate you are about the service, and I know that you want to just serve the country. And you are not even a partisan person. So, of course, you are a victim of circumstance. But I really pray for you, and I wish you all the best, and I know that you are going to deliver. The next topic, again, I will begin with you, Honorable. Or perhaps maybe Dr. Val. Small-scale mining. Licenses issued after 7th of December 2024 have been revoked. Do you agree with the President, or you think that we should have gone far beyond December 7th to even do an audit of the licenses which were issued prior to see whether or not they were in consonance with the laws which allows for licenses and permits to be given and for concessions to be given to private individuals to go into mining?
Thank you. Yeah. Today you want to discover the side of me that you don't know. So after as an auditor at KP, after audit 3 years audit at KPMG, I went to work for Ashanti Goldfields. I was an internal auditor there, and I was a financial controller. So I spent 6 years there. And then from that, after that, I went to do my PhD in the UK, and I was appointed CFO of a British mining company with mines in Côte d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso. I have not reviewed that to you.
No, you haven't.
So for mining, that is my area of expertise. I've worked as a subject matter expert. I won't tell you what. In my retirement, I'll provide a service as a subject matter expert on the mining. In an important...
you should be consulted by the government then.
But then I don't... I said, Honorable, I said I've retired from mining. So like the same topic we had with Nigeria, mining is an important area with a lot of resources. And Ghana, we are blessed with so much of that resources. But we need to manage and the same allocate to benefit the people. So we, in the past, traditionally, we were mining in pans.
Okay.
Yes, and that was more sustainable. Our ancestors had done that over years. In some countries, illegal or artisanal mining is tolerated so far as you don't introduce equipment. Okay, so when I realized that there were excavators everywhere and our rivers were being mined with the, say, champagne and others, I was wondering what had happened to Ghana. Why? Where are all these people who have so much experience in mining? Why did we allow this to... Yes, and sometimes we were there, some people come and ask as if we could assist them with their concessions, and we flatly, some of my colleagues who are geologists, flatly refused that you don't mine in rivers. But then if that has become the order of the day in Ghana, then we have a serious problem. So any revocation of these licenses, which are not subjected to the procedure, the proper procedure of granting licenses, I will agree. So, for example, if you look at the mining companies, they go through a process to ensure that whatever they are going to engage in is sustainable. You know, even the rocks that you mine, you can mine acid rock, and just a rainfall will cause that to be toxic to the environment. So you need a process that will ensure that whatever you're doing is environmentally feasible.
Please, when you say acid rock, you mean that the rock itself?
Yes, without adding any chemical.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, you have oxides. Some rocks that are oxides, and with rain and whatever, it becomes acidic. And that can harm the environment. So when the people apply for licenses, you have to ensure that whatever they are going is not going to damage the environment. But if you get up and just issue licenses for alluvial mining, which is mining in the water bodies, forests, when I was in Ashanti, I think it's somewhere to do with the forests in the eastern region, where we struggled, and after exploration, we were denied the license. And somebody was saying that a chief somewhere was more interested in butterflies than whatever. But the chief was doing the right thing. The chief wanted to protect the forest. But then all this time, when Ashanti Goldfields was applying for this license, they were refused. So how come now they are being given to individuals who are not well positioned to protect the environment in the process? Because for mining companies, we have they have what we call tailings dam. And that tailings dam, you spend a lot of money. So that could be even about a third or 50% of the investment, just to ensure that all these acidic and chemicals are contained and then neutralized before the fluid is released to the environment. Who were in Congo, yes, I was in charge of the finance of a mine in Congo. And with our tailings dam, when the villagers even saw a dead bird, they just came. They all came to the mine and asked questions. So that tells you how the villagers found it's so important for the mining company to protect the environment. So if you give the license to an individual who hasn't got that capacity, then you are destroying your country or your environment. So the licenses shouldn't be given in that number in a short time. I don't know how the procedure they went through to do that. So the revocation is in the right direction. And as Kwame asked, I would have even loved it if it went back and we audited all the licenses that we are given to ensure that the people who obtain the license could mine sustainably, so that we can protect our environment.
Right. Thank you. And let me come to you, Mr. Philip Langdon, before I come to Honorable.
In fact, I've been learned quite a bit. Just
yeah.
listening to Doc here. And he just makes the point that we have the people who can do the job.
Absolutely.
But unfortunately, we just let things just go haywire. And Honorable, yesterday I was listening to your latest successor, the Honorable Okubwa. And he was saying that it was not even possible for all those licenses to have been granted within the time that they were applied for people to have gone through, for them to have gone through all the necessary steps before those licenses were granted. It just tells you that this was something that, it just shows you that there was never that intention to address the problems that this small-scale mining is bringing us. Because anybody with the intention to solve this problem would take their time to ensure. So I must commend the current lands minister for the efforts he's making. Yes, it's not, he hasn't been able to solve all the problems, but at least he's shown a strong will to fight the problem. This morning, they say 60 excavators seized. It is commendable, you know. So me, I'll encourage them. They should continue. One thing personally I would wish to see or hear is that the Changfang has been banned, proscribed entirely. That it should be illegal to possess or be handling a Changfang. Because those are the kind of implements that are causing the serious environmental damage to the water bodies.
Okay, let me ask you a question. And let's be quite open about this conversation. Of course, we all abhor Galamsey and its related activities. And we're talking about small-scale mining, but also finding a way of using this opportunity to discuss Galamsey. Why do you think people do Galamsey? Why?
Well, because I think maybe the experts will say better, but there's small-scale mining, and there's alluvial mining. Then there's illegal mining, where you are doing all the wrong things. Galamsey is illegal.
Right.
So if you go for a license, and that's also the guys, a lot of Galamsey is being done. Somebody goes for a prospecting license, and they are mining in an area where the license does not even cover, in a manner that is totally outrageous to the environment.
Now, so in your estimation, because, and I'm sorry, I may be very naive with this perception of mine, that in recent past, we've seen that the rate of crime from where I sit is on a downward, trajectory, if you like, for want of a better expression. And per the small research that I did, it is partly owing to the fact that a lot of people are now doing illegal mining, Galamsey. And so they have dropped their guns and they have picked their pants. So if we are going to be successful in dealing with the issue of Galamsey, we must also be minded by the other ancillary threats that we may have relative to the fight against Galamsey. I'm just saying. So that if we're saying that we are banning Galamsey, then we should also be prepared to deal with the fallout from the issue. That's why I want us to look at it holistically. So, and what we know, that, okay, we are banning illegal mining completely, but in banning it, we are also creating jobs for the people so that we will use them to do the tree planting, We will use them to do this, we will use them to do that, so that they can be making money, because that is why people do it. And that's why I asked you, why do people do Galamsey?
I think he made a distinction. He talked about alluvial mining. He talked about illegal mining. And Galamsey, it's small-scale mining. See, like I said, way back to our ancestors, we've always had mining in this country, or Gold Coast. And that mining was not, we could say, we call it artisanal mining, where they will use pans and others to mine. And even if they dug, they wouldn't use excavators or even in this current situation, countries do not allow excavators to be used by the artisanal miners. So those artisanal miners could be what we call Galamsey now. But then, because of the maybe arrival of the foreigners, that has been taken to an illegal level by the use of excavators and champagne. Otherwise, if they were mining in the rivers with the pans and others, that could have been sustained. But now, with the excavators and champagne, it's not possible for a country to allow its people to engage in that activity. Then you come to the small-scale miner. The small-scale miner, if the person goes through the processes to obtain the license legally, the small-scale miner can run his business.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Legally.
Okay.
So
I think we must have a broader conversation on that. So maybe you conclude and then I'll come to Honorable on that.
So just to answer that question,
yes, sir,
from a very lay one sentence position. When there's Galamsey, it increases prostitution. So people have made that argument about it has taken crime off. It hasn't taken crime off anywhere. Policy decision. Look, 60 excavators seized. These 60 excavators could have given you at least 50 tractors, about 5 combined harvesters, and maybe another 5 bulldozers from this 60
we use
excavators.
it for the dams, Palugu dams.
And it will employ twice the people that excavate this thing is doing. It's policy and leadership.
That's why I said that I may be naive in asking that question, but I believe that we must not discount the possibilities that there exist, in respect of these matters. But let me come to you, Honorable. You are privileged. You are in a privileged position. You have occupied that office, and you know the barrage of fire, that you've come under before, and how you were able to surmount, that stressful desire, in my estimation, by people to want to see Galamsey to its end. So how did you do it, and how did you manage, and how can we address the issue of Galamsey?
Listening to you and my two colleagues, I'm very well pleased that I think that there is unanimity that activity is bad. And KOD, it is axiomatic to say that because of illegal mining, crime has gone down. Because illegal mining is a criminal activity. It's criminal activity. So it has not gone down. Maybe it has shifted from armed robbery to illegal activity.
Right.
So it's still the same. Crime has not reduced. Two, it is not for nothing that we say, and he knows, he worked in the mines, and he's talking about tailing down. Why did they say that we should, every mine is a condition precedent to the establishment of a mine and engaging in mining activity to have a tailings dam? Because that activity impacts the environment. So steps must be taken to contain the adverse effects of mining on the environment, because we all know that it has adverse effects on the environment. 3, until 1989, there was no small-scale mining in this country. Why did we not have small-scale mining in this country? Because the state did not have the capacity to monitor the activities of small-scale miners. And because of our keen awareness that unregulated small-scale mining will devastate the environment. But when the unemployment rate started, the state started looking at ways of legalizing it and controlling it. The control mechanisms have failed. That's why we are where we are. And you see, the state has been vindicated. The reasons why small-scale mining was not a legalized activity is what we are seeing today. Unregulated mining is dangerous for any country. KOD, today, communities living in mining areas suffer from kidney diseases.
Yes. Yes.
Communities living in mining areas are insecure because the place is now almost like a war zone. Today, our cocoa is facing the threat of banning because it has, on occasions, it has failed the sanitary and phytosanitary tests that is required for exporting countries to comply under World Trade Organization, WTO.
Repeat what you said. The sanitary
and phytosanitary conditions.
Yeah. I'm doing international trade.
It's exciting to hear the jargons.
You can't believe it anymore.
But why are we failed? And let me hasten back to congratulate seriously Kofi Amabua, ably supported by the Minister for Environment,
Mustafa
Ibrahim
Mutala. And the EPA.
And the EPA. The EPA is under Mutala.
Mutala, okay.
And their keen sense of responsibility and the desire to rein in this canker. Indeed, it's a canker. And we are facing a moral hazard. People go into the land, take the gold, leave the land degraded. There's no reclamation, nothing. We lose our gold, and then we go for resources elsewhere to reclaim
the land.
Yeah. And we go for further resources to plant trees on the land. Today, as I speak to you, almost all the river bodies that are abutting areas where mining goes on are dead. They can't support life. So your grandfathers who were fishing can no longer fish.
We used to drink from the river bodies. When I was in Ashanti Mampong, we used to fetch water
and drink.
Yeah, that's drink.
Now you can't drink that water.
Yeah.
You can't even use that water to mix chemicals to spray your cocoa farm. In fact, those cocoa farms have been depleted. And that is why cocoa production in this country has fallen to less than 50%. And all this is because of the impunity of others. What will agitate the mind of an office holder to give licenses to people after 7th December? When those licenses are given for and on behalf of the president, and the president is exiting office, and you are given licenses, if not for partisan considerations, if not for the fact that you are aware that there's a change of regime, and those people who have applied are sympathizers of the outgoing government, and so if you don't approve those licenses, they might not get those licenses. It stands to reason that probably that agitated the minds of those who did that. And so there was the temptation to skip all the procedural requirements to give out those licenses. So that is why they have to be cancelled. Two, he's not stopped there. He's not stopped there. He says, let's audit all the licenses that have been granted. Because like Mr. Philip London has said, Galamsey, within the context in which we are speaking, is an illegal activity. It didn't start that way, like you said, Doctor. Our grandfathers used to go with baskets and pans, collect river sand, and then sieve it, and then pick their nuggets of gold. And that was how they used to gather and sell. That is the Galamsey, gather and sell. Okay? But now it's not so. So when I went to Chicheure, when the 9 miners died at Chicheure in or around 2013, the Queen Mother of Chicheure said, Minister, and he spoke in tree, na yenda nanum nim se sika koko ewo nsium nanso no omu nko nsiu no mu enko yi sika koko no because omu nim se wo say nsiu no a wan say wan mre Obra.
Yes, your life.
Your life.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but now why don't we have this sense? When our ancestors had this keen sense of responsibility and sustainability, why today, we those who claim that we are educated, why don't we have that? So they knew that there was gold in the water bodies, but they never went there. And then, Mr. in London, you said it, it's leadership. Shamfan cannot operate in that. Even the manufacture under the Minerals and Mining Act, the manufacture of Shamfan in Ghana
is illegal.
Is legal. Oh, really? Let alone selling it to the water body.
I'm surprised to hear this.
So the fact that they are still there means that someone is busily engaged in illegal activities and nobody's arrested.
Yeah.
But I should explain to you what is wrong with us as a people.
What?
Aisha One was deported. She came back to Ghana, went to Kumasi, established herself in Kumasi, was dealing in equipment for small-scale mining and gold buying for some number of months before some rival competitors, not the state,
Exposed them.
some rival competitors exposed them. That is the kind of state that we are running. Now, again, you will wonder why in 2022, the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo government, under the Ministry of Environment, went to Parliament to lay an ally to permit mining in forest areas and river bodies.
That's madness, eh?
Madness on stilts.
Madness.
Madness on stilts. You will not, and then you will say that you are interested in the next generation. Nana Akufo-Addo was just a disaster. Because he told us that he was not interested in the next election. He was interested in the next generation. These are his words. But his activities, his actions, did not support those words.
The claims, yeah.
So how can you allow mining in water bodies? And then he perpetuated, or his government perpetuated fraud on this country. When he came out with the concept of community mining. Community mining is an aggravated Galamsey. Party sympathizers and apparatchiks. So the Minerals Commission and the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission under the MPP government could not monitor them, could not supervise them. So it was a field day. That is how come we have recorded this level of degradation of the environment. Because they were on their own. They were so emboldened that they could even enter forest reserves.
With guns.
With guns.
Guns.
Guns. Even the late Sir John is reported to have converted one to himself and was mining there with security. Therefore, the Ashanti Regional Chairman, Nana Akufo-Addo himself, cleared him. When his minister said, no, the man was involved in an illegal activity, the president himself said that was not right. That was not true. You see, that is why we are where we are. And so I will commend them. They should keep Minister Bua and Honorable Ibrahim Mohamed Mutala, keep your eyes on the ball. You will come under serious attack. In short, some of it can be physical. and spiritual. So you come under them. There will be attempts to impede what you are doing because there are powerful forces behind the illegal activity. Because it's just theft. They are stealing the gold and they are not accountable to anybody. And I also heard the minister say that among the stakeholders will be DCEs who will be given key performance indicators.
Good.
So if you are a DCU and you fail to rein in,
You'll be fired.
you'll be fired. So that is also a positive signal. They will face a lot of resistance, even from within the NDC. Because some NDC activists will now feel
This is their time.
this is their time. Just like what we discussed in Nigeria.
Yes, yes.
So predatory nature of politics.
Politics, yeah.
Self-interest.
Yeah.
It's not about the state.
Yeah.
It's about me.
Yeah.
So they should just keep their eyes on the ball. And it is service to nation and God. That the legacy they will have your mama leave will be a legacy of mitigated or lessened or reduced illegal activities. And it can be done. And I'm taking inspiration from what Dr. Val said. Probably we need to look at the kind of equipment that we will allow into small-scale mining. He said that in other jurisdictions, they will not allow heavy equipment into small-scale mining, small-scale or artisanal mining. Probably we must look at that and see, because the situation is getting worse. Women are bringing forth deformed children.
Yeah.
And people should not think that we those sitting in Accra and in air-conditioned homes are immune
excluded, yeah.
from the ravages of small-scale mining. You never know what orange you are drinking, do you?
No.
Ukai Obuasanka.
Boasanka.
The research has shown that Obuasanka was sweet because of the mining activities around Obuasi, because those chemicals were seeping into the oranges. And so they're producing those sweet taste. But we're drinking them saying that, oh, Obuasanka there. So you never know when that anka, which is harvested from areas that have been contaminated by heavy metals, can get to Accra.
Brilliant. Dr. Val had to excuse us because he has another important engagement, and so Dr. Val has left us. But I still have two of the greats here on Pan-African television. We're having a very dispassionately, nationalistic conversation, and that is what we have to do at this point in the life of our democracy. Let me read a few messages, and then we'll discuss the last topic, and then we'll get out of here. Francis Adalete says, it's time, I think he repeated your quote, to let go of the past to enable us build the country. It's time to build and take our destiny into our own hands. Other countries have made it, but it seems we are our own enemies in the dispensation of democracy. This is Francis Adalete. Thank you, Francis. This is very deep. Eric Koku Sapenu says, Kwame, it's true the current Ghanaian generation do not know what the country went through during the economic downturns of 1979 and the 1980s. Before the intervention of Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings is in the IMF intervention. It's unfortunate that once again the UP tradition and its offsprings party, NPP, with their Jandam machinery, said in Kumasi, and are distorting our history as they did to Kwame Nkrumah. Thank you very, very much. On the question of Galamsey menace and its impact on our ecosystem environment, which sustains life, Ghana is a signatory to the UN Sustainable Goals, which also includes sustainable mining, which incorporates key strategic measures that mining should be exploitative of communities, but benefit the people and preserve the environment. All right, thank you. I think you have okay, you have written. I've read 2 of your messages, so I think it's enough. Let me move to WhatsApp. Ken William says that, good morning to you, Kwame Ekufuado and his officials who passed laws to destroy our forest reserves and water bodies have committed genocide against the state. They must apologize for criminally mismanaging the state and stop crying wolf as if they are saints. Indeed, past government officials should be sued at ICC for breaching UN 2375, which sees water pollution an act of terrorism and a crime against humanity. They are enemies of the state and they must be made to reclaim the forest reserves to serve as a deterrent. I agree with you. I wish I could take the former president to court, to the ICC. Honorable Ines Afuseni was my government teacher at Walewale Senior High School. Greetings to him. All right. This one is from... oh, you taught government, eh?
Yes.
That was my favorite when I was in senior high school.
And they all did well.
Oh, my God. Oh, I see. Hey, Charlie, you've been there. Okay, all right, okay. I used to love government a lot, eh? I see. Mine was Mr. Na.
Okay.
Mr. Na, I think he passed on. Yeah, Mr. Na, I still remember him. Good morning to you, KO. The senior, looking at the Galamsey menace holistically, apart from the fact that crimes have gone down, it has also become very difficult to get labor for farming activities. At first, you could get some of our young brother farmers in the northern part of Ghana to assist in farming activities. Today, most of them have become Galamseyers, and it has become extremely difficult to get a farm hand, and even if you get, it's very expensive. Now, Keodi, some farmers, as a result, import workers from Togo, Benin, and Burkina Faso to work in their farms. Most of these guys have also become a threat to national security. Besides, we are losing the lands for farms to feed the nation to Galamsey. And the major challenge is that those behind the Galamsey are Chinese, Indians, and hidden politicians who put these young ones' life into a complete disaster and are arrested all the time, whereas the owners of the certificates are enjoying themselves elsewhere. Congratulations to the Minister Kofi Bua. Thomas from Ablekuma sent in this one. Very, very thought-provoking submission there. Good morning to you, Lawyer KOD. Galamsey is not to be managed because it's simply illegal. It should be banned. This illegality has enriched some illiterates to become so powerful to the extent of making laws for us in our parliament and political arenas, only in Ghana. Bibi from Musuku. And I think you are very right on this one, Bibi, because right now, if we are not careful, our parliament will be filled with people who are, you know, very, I don't want to. Yes, you know, people who are there because they are able to pay their way through, not because they understand why they are even there. They just want to legitimize their, you know, tomfoolery. Good morning to you and your able panelists. The youth nowadays like quick money. That is why they are engaging in activities like I'm saying Sakawa and fraud. From Amos in Asin Fosu. Coming from a typical Galamsey area, it's mythical that Galamsey has reduced crimes like robbery. Indeed, there are high levels of crimes, being its rituals, drug junkies, thievery, prostitution, land degradations. Lastly, Galamsey itself is robbery. Well, thank you very much. You know, that's why I said that maybe I'm naive. I didn't look at it from the extended peripherals. I just look at it from, you know, within the construct of my, you know. So I agree. When I concede, I concede. Good morning to you, KO. The revocation of license issued after December 7th is in the right direction, considering the numbers involved. In my candid opinion, the government of the day must conduct an audit of all licenses issued over the last 8 years. The pollution of our water bodies and the destruction of our forest reserves is as a result of the several licenses that were issued during the past administration. Adams from WA sent in this one. Good morning to you, KOD. To stop this illegal mining in this country, 1, ban individuals importing excavators into the country. 2, ban foreigners like Chinese and Indians who are also importing excavators into the country if there are no many excavators and heavy machines in the country. Hope this illegal thing by itself will go down. You think so? Good morning to you, Kwame. Wish you all the best from Kucho, Manshia, Kumase. Kwame, your issues this morning is very serious. With Galamsey and criminal issues, it is something that the state should also think about and put things into proper perspective. Regards to Honorable Inusa and all. Thanks. Thank you, sir, for your message. Good morning to Pan-African Television. I wish to correct two of your panelists about the expulsion of Ghanaians from Niger. First, the expulsion took place in the year 1984 under Muhammadu Buhari, the then military head of state of Nigeria, and it was Buhari who overthrew Alhaji Shehu Shagari. Thank you. All right, thank you very much for the correction. We appreciate it. Good morning to you, Pan-African Television. Socialism is the best alternative for Ghana's democracy, where the national resources are shared according to your needs. From Comrade Emmanuel Biri in Bibiani in the Western North region. I couldn't agree with you less. Good morning to you, KOD, and my bro Inusa Fuseni. This is the effect of treated Galamsey water in plastic bottles. How safe are our internal organs? Charlie, problem. Good morning to you. I'm Tisha Martin from Adanse, Nyankomase. With the Galamsey matters, government needs to issue a very nice initiative like providing what farmers provided what farmers need. I think I want to sell my cocoa farm to some Chinese for money and travel abroad. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Honorable, our time is up, but I think we can spare a minute or two to look at the last issue. Now, the issue in relation to the revelations made by Honorable Adjo Asafo is telling of the deep-seated rot which engulfed the previous administration. And it is imperative that as a new government, steps are taken in a very expeditious manner so as to give Ghanaian people the confidence and the comfort knowing that what they thought was the case previously was actually the case, and that the reason for voting so convincingly for the NDC will be adhered to. That is to deal with the issue of corruption and corruption-related matters. Adjo Asafo is telling us that when she was the Minister for Gender, it became clear to her a design by some political elites, particularly those at the seat of government, creating a system of stealing from the people of this country by creating ghost names, or by rather creating ghost schools, so that the school feeding program, the money that we're giving to the students will be extended to those schools, and the proceeds thereof will come to the minister and the person who orchestrated the scheme. I mean, it's telling. Don't you think perhaps it's the time for oral or whichever institution to begin a proper audit of all the SOEs?
We don't have time.
We don't, but I'll give you time. I'll give you latitude.
Adjo Asafo's interview with Asampa clearly exposed Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo once again as a very dishonest politician. We had known of other things he had done. For instance, when he made a national broadcast and said that yes, we're going to IMF, we're going to go to the DDF, but we're not going to go to IMF. We are going to go to IMF. First, he said initially he said we're not going, and then he finally considered that we were going, but said that nobody was going to suffer a haircut. And Akufo-Addo said it. We didn't put it in his mouth. It turned out that what he said was not true. Today we are being told again that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, when Adjo Asafo went to the ministry and realized that there was a lot of rot, it was Nana Akufo-Addo himself who told Adjo Asafo that he simply did not understand why a lot of money was going to the Ministry of Gender and they were not seeing results. And so Adjo Asafo must commission an audit into where the money was going to. Adjo Asafo says she did the audit and then saw where the problem was. When Nana Akufo-Addo came under pressure, directed Adjo Sefo to shelve the audit. Now, for me, this is the only thing. There are many things that we can say because Adjo Sefo's things are ongoing to come again. For me, this is very revealing. And for once again, just like the man who was at the airport, what's his name, who was removed and says he knows where all the monies are. Oh, this man.
Airport.
Yes.
Hobson.
Hobson,
Oh, just like
Commander Hobson.
Commander Hobson. Just like Commander Hobson. Adjo Sefo has added one further revelation to the level of rot that characterize the Nana Addo Akufo-Addo government. In fact, she concluded by saying that MPP lost the elections because of the way the government and the party treated Ghanaians. She said that. They lost because of the way. So she has passed a damning verdict on the administration of Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. They were intolerant. Look at people like him. Look at Alan Chiramanten. How can the government treat its own the way it treated? I mean, Plato said it so many years ago. And I thought that this man was a reader. You can't treat one half of your people as nothing and hope to deliver the best of administration. Because it is the collective. Everybody puts his idea
together.
And then you see those ideas. The best comes of it and you use it to run a country. You never know how much you are worth, KOD, until you go to a meeting and proffer an idea, a suggestion, a proposal, and finally see that proposal adopted and yielding results. Then you become satisfied. You become fulfilled. But Nana Akufo-Addo decided that one half of the MPP people, and that's why sometimes I even feel to understand why some people are still think that they are MPP. Because he just marginalized one half and was keeping one half. And said that their views, their ideas were not important. In conclusion, the Attorney General has heard, the Minister of Finance has heard that the school feeding program was another demonstration in the words of Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa of how not to implement a policy.
How not to implement a policy? Let me conclude with you. Or you are okay?
Oh, well, the thing is, the only thing I'll say is that.
God. MPP.
Yes, the interview that the Honorable
Adjo Sefo
granted was a series of bombs.
Hiroshima.
No, this one is Hiroshima. This one is because the Hiroshima bombs. They are cooling down in the meantime. They are waiting to. So I don't think anybody should. You see, allow them. People to start to be talking.
Yeah.
I just saw in one of your papers this morning, MPP to suspend Chairman Sabunsu. What?
Oh, would they dare try?
Oh. What is it? What can't they do?
Hey, I see. Then they should suspend Patrick Boama too, because Patrick Boama is also conceding that they have to accept defeat and apologize to Ghanaians.
It has started. MPP to suspend Chairman Sabunsu, who was an authority in the House of Parliament. He earned the respect of both sides. As a leader in the House.
Hey, Charlie, this is self-implosion, eh?
You removed him because by your calculations on paper, from what we are being told, or he himself has said, and the then president felt that, well, the NDC has gone for a vice president candidate who comes from the central region, and who? Minority leader, who also come from Central Region. So they must balance it. What kind of calculation is that? What kind of calculation? So the merit of Chemesa Bonsu in Parliament is based on where he comes from. When he opens his mouth and he's talking in Parliament, either for his party or against the other party, isn't because of where he comes from. How can anybody think that way?
No, they definitely thought that.
So, and you see, then to the extent that, and you see, this is where the New Patriotic Party has got to. This is not the New Patriotic Party we knew. This is not the New Patriotic Party we knew in those days. If you ask President Kufuor, he will tell you that the strongest criticism he got was from within his own party. And they will, even at cabinet, they will give him strong criticism. And he took it in good faith. And he will tell you today that it helped him even achieve better. So why, if J. Mensah, a leader of the party, has expressed his views, anybody should want to even consider, dream?
Then I think that Professor Michael Quay should also be suspended, because in his report, he has indicated that if they were to bring Bawumia back, they will lose elections.
You see, that's why I'm saying that. You see, it has only just started. You wait, and let because the issues inside.
Anyway, well,
you see in 2008 we brought John Evans Atamils.
Yeah.
Was the Atamils was from Central Region.
Yeah.
Did we change the minority leader there? The majority leader there?
no, he didn't.
Under Kufuor, did we change?
Anyway, thank you very much, Honorable Minister Afzeni, for your time this morning. It's been very, very exciting. Thank you, Mr. Philip Langdon, for your time this morning, and thank you to Dr. Bao, who had to leave us at some point. But most importantly, voice of appreciation to the very many of you who found the time and the patience to watch us and to share your views with us here on the morning show. I'm exceedingly thankful to you for spending.
Extend my congratulations and felicitations to the newly appointed Director General CID.
Oh, the beautiful
Lydia Yako Donko. I'm happy to be associated with her.
Oh yeah. And she was, I live in Tesano. She was once divisional commander there.
Yeah.
And all of us.
I think people like her a lot. People like her.
What I like about her,
professional.
I had a few interactions there. Very pleasant. But consider she's very focused, business-like. She's a police officer, and all the men around don't joke with her. She has the authority. So I wish her well.
Okay, well, that is what change of power does. It brings out the best, and that is what we need right now in Ghana. Right now, we need honest politicians and honest people. I do recall when I was living in the barracks, my father, who was a police officer at the time, dispensed his obligations to the state without recourse to any political party. It was just, pure love and passion for service. And that should be it. I mean, particularly those who are supposed to serve the nation. We should do so dispassionately, devoid of any political affiliations. So, congratulations to all those who have been appointed, reappointed, assigned, reassigned. Congratulations to all of them. And may the good Lord guide your paths and make sure that you deliver to the good people of this country. That's all we want. But most importantly, after Honorable has said that, I think I need to regurgitate my felicitation to my very good friend, DCOP Dr. Chidi of Western Region. Now, you are the Western Regional Police Commander. I mean, it pays to wait. Charlie, you've waited for long, but at least now, yes. So thank you very much. And to all the newly appointed, I don't know most of them, but I think that... and Yohonu, I still have my reservations. I think I've stated it openly. He needs to convince me, he needs to prove to me that he will be able to discharge his duties and obligations to the good people of Ghana, devoid of all the things that I personally am apprised with. So I wish him all the best as well. I hope that he delivers and protects what is left of what the Kufuor left us with. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Do have a blissful fantastic money-making day. Bye-bye.